Back again YouTube, and welcome back to another video. And this is going to be one more video before the night finishes, as we've got tomorrow to actually continue pushing on, because we're getting right in the thick of the project now, and we've got quite a lot of videos that we've put out from day one up until this point. So I'm going to try and keep this as quickly as possible, so because you can see my eyes, I'm very tired at the moment. So we're going to quickly go through this, and we're going to call it a night. We're going to pick it back up tomorrow and crack on again, because we've got plenty still to do. And the point of this video is I actually want to quickly go through a little bit of refactoring with the session component. I'm going to try and initialize that component using my test index file I've got right here, which you can see, which is the last file that we was working in the last video. And I quickly want to run through that session component and put that YAML file in, or that YAML configuration in, and actually test that. But before we do that, actually we can actually test that YAML file in our application. So I'm going to quickly, within this run method, which I'm not calling right here, I want to actually test that YAML configuration, which are these files right here. Close that down, which are these YAML config file. Test that we're actually calling it properly, and it's parsing those YAML syntax down to the PHP equivalent. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to call run on this application. Call a run method. I mean, let's get rid of that. And if I take you back to my next screen, you can see we've got that object from earlier on. Just going to refresh that page, and I'm going to my run method, and I'm going to the var dump. I'm going to kill the script actually, so I got a better idea of what's going on. And I'm going to bring that YAML file in, and this YAML config, and let's quickly dump that out on the screen and see if we're getting any errors. So it's going to be YAML config ; file, because we're referencing this method down here. This is the public method that we're going to call to get our YAML files. So file, and I'm going to try and get that session file, and that's all we're going to call it, just session. Let's refresh that and look at that. We're getting that YAML configuration, which has been parsed down to PHP array, and to test that it's actually coming from this session file, I'm going to make a change, and you can see it live. So I'm going to go into that session YAML file, and I'm going to assign a session name that says welcome test, something generic, and refresh that, and you can see welcome test. So we know we're referencing that YAML config file, which is being executed through this method, and this entire class is taking care of that parsing thanks to that Symfony component that we've added in. So I'm happy with that. That's working. Let's get rid of that, and let's try our next file. Let's try the database. Let's refresh that, and again, that's fine. We're getting all those configuration, that database configuration, and you can see if we add a password on that says password, save it, we should see that field change, which it has. So you're saying password. So we'll get in the right file, and the YAML config is working, and we're going to actually pass in that session array within our session managers component. But before I do that, I want to actually test the session class and see what errors it's going to throw up, and try and tackle that error first. So I'm going to quickly create a next method call it public function. So I'm trying to keep this video short, but it's already 5 minutes already. Public function, set session, and I'm going to bring in that trait class that we created, or that trait that we created. I'm going to bring that in up in here. I say use magma trait, system trait, and I'm going to say system trait session init. I'm going to pass true in. I'm going to return this. I'm going to attach it onto this method as set session. Right? Let's see what error this is going to throw up. Let's just take this away first. Let's get rid of that. Var dump. Right, we're getting a lot of errors, and you can see it's quite big on your screen because we're not actually running any template. It's just a straight exception file that is spewing out all of this. I'm going to try and fix that so you guys can see it. And I've actually noticed that, and I've commented out these divs that I've just wrapped it around, and it's just going to temporarily help us just to see a little better. So I'm going to refresh that, and it shrunk a little bit, and you can see where we're getting these errors in our session, and it's pointing to our abstract session storage class. I'm going to open that up. Session abstract storage, and it's pointing to init set method, which is this method right here. And obviously the reason why we're getting that error because we haven't got that session config file passed in, so it doesn't actually know what it's actually fetching data from. But I can actually put a try, well, not a try catch, I can throw an exception to sort of like show a better message than that, and that's probably something we're going to do within our refactoring. But we're getting this error because we haven't got that session config file. I will know where that's meant to go. That's meant to go within our session managers class, right? And if you remember this class, we've actually set an empty array. Now we need to set our pass in or YamlConfig session file within that array. So I'm going to bring my YAML class in, say use magma. It's going to be YamlConfig. I'm just going to pass it all in like this. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to say YamlConfig : file. Alright, session, just like that. So I'm going to refresh and see what other error we're getting. So we're still getting an error, and it's pointing to this session divisor. So let's look at that quickly. And GC divisor, let's get our, you see we've got an S on the end. So let's take that S off because we've got a misspelling right there. All right, let's reload that page. Let's see what else we got. We've got session.cookie, and there's something that we've not set. Cookie, we got you see I can't see this actual key within my session file, so I'm going to put that in. I'm just going to assign it a value for now until I figure out what value that actually requires. Let's reload and see what happens. Right, we're getting somewhere now. So it says message is not a valid session name, so we're throwing an exception somewhere. We've not properly written the message in. So let's have a look and see where that's coming from. And I can see that we need that session name because that's coming from or a session factory or a session constructor. Right, so that's the message that we've thrown in. right here. So we need to set a session name, and we can do that from the session managers class. I'm going to put a generic name for now, call it Magma Core, and let's reload. And that looks like it's clear all of that session errors up for now. Let's just test that actually. If we go back to our index file, so we've set our session. Let's try and get our session through, because there's two ways we could get our session. We could get it through the session managers class through this method, or through our global managers component, which we've added in a few days ago, which is this component. And I'm going to actually try and get and set a session from that component first and see how that works. So I'm going to temporarily bring that class in, Magma, and it's going to be global manager. And if you remember, we've already set or assigned a key, that entire session object. So we've got the global manager coming in. Let's get that actual session object. So we're going to say session equal global manager. I'm going to get that, it's called global session, right? Let's do a var dump quickly just to see what we're getting back. And we're getting back that actual session object which we've set within the trait, within our PHP trait file. So that's cool. Let's see if I could actually set a session and retrieve it. So session set name, the coding workshop, and I'm going to echo session get. We're using that get method. I'm going to try and get the session by that name, that key that was set, which is name, and see what we're getting. And there we go, we're getting the actual value that we've set in that set method. So that tells me that my session class is responding to what I'm doing right here. And obviously this is just on the surface. I'm definitely expecting more errors as we sort of like dig deep, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it as it is now, and I'm going to actually show you the next way we can actually get our session, and it's by calling. Let's close that. Let's close that for now. Let's close that and that as well. Let's get rid of all of that. Get rid of that, and let's bring in our Magma session, and it's a session managers class, and we're going to that's a static class as well actually. So I'm going to say session again equal session manager, and it's that initialize. Let's just get it from the class. I'm trying to go a bit quickly and it's obviously not working, so let's paste that in, and let's try and set our next session using this second way of doing it. And say session set, and we'll set a color just to differentiate from the first one that we've done, and I'm going to set that to blue. Let's echo again, say session get color, right? And let's reload that and see what comes up, and there we go, we're getting blue. So now we've established that both method of getting a session is actually working on the surface. Obviously when we start digging in, we're going to see what else it throws up, but I'm quite happy with that at the moment. We've passed in our session YamlConfig file, and we're now getting our session to work as I've just demonstrated to you on the screen right here. So that's what this quick video was about, just to demonstrate to you that we're getting our YAML file, we're passing it in, we're now seeing that they're working, we can get our session, we can set it, and if you can get and set it, you must believe that we can actually get and or use the other method within that class as well. So that's gonna be it for this 15-minute video that was meant to be very short. But I want to actually mention as well, I got a comment earlier on and it went on to say about using a singleton for my application class, and I've been thinking about it, and I think I might implement it, I think I might not. I think I need to look into it a little bit more and find out the pros and cons, or whether it's beneficial to make this application a singular, or use a singular pattern with this application class. But that was a good shout out from that comment. Actually, it's got me thinking whether I should take that approach or not. I'm going to sleep on it, have a think about it, and maybe implement it, maybe not. But also, that same commenter has pointed out something in the application class as well about defining the constants. So we're checking that it exists before we create it, and that's pretty easy. We could fix that pretty easily by doing something like defined and passing in the actual constant name like that. Or we could just copy and paste this in down on the other ones. And paste that there, and paste that there, paste that there, paste that there, and then change the names. So that's uproot, got config path, template path, and log directory. Again, we're checking that the constant exists. If it doesn't, we're going to create it. And that was a good shout out from that comment. Thanks for that. I've added that in. It probably would have been something that we've done at refactoring, but nevertheless, you've mentioned it, and I've made some adjustment and I've added that in. And again, as far as the index file goes, we've done that as well. But I am not too bothered about this index file for the time being, because this is just helping us to instantiate some class as we go along, just to making sure that they were actually working. But yeah, again, I'm not one for abbreviation. I like to be explicit with my variable names or my constant names. So you will see me write out stuff like root path and stuff like that, and not abbreviate on it. I know it's pretty obvious, RP. Again, I like to be explicit. That's just a personal preference. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. We're going to be catching back up tomorrow, where we're going to be cracking on with pushing on within this project, and possibly start creating some controller files and some models and testing those database ORM. And not because we've now got that dummy data, we can actually test and see what we're going to get back. So that's going to be it for me, guys. I'm going to jump in bed. I'm extremely tired. It's been a long day of videoing. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate all the feedback I'm getting. It helps me, it helps you, and we're all just trying to learn and do the best we can. So thanks for that. See you soon in the next video. Bye.